First, let's tune to E major tuning. So your bottom string is an E, but your fifth string is tuned up to B. Your fourth string is tuned up to E. Your third string should be up to G sharp. Your second string is still a B, and your first string is still an E. That gives you a nice big E major chord. And we're going to use that to big advantage in this song, because to play a major chord all we need to do is bar. For example, this would be C sharp, this would be B, and this would be A, and we're going to use those fingerings throughout the song. Now let's begin with the intro pattern, which is really one of my favorite guitar patterns of all time. Now let's look at that. It starts up here at the 9th fret, and all we're going to do is we're going to hold the bar, and we're essentially going to then grab with the third and the second fingers there. So Keith starts the pattern on the 5th string, and he plays like this. Watch closely. You notice for the last 2 strikes, I released my third finger. So that was. Okay, now move that exact pattern down to the 7th fret, and it plays almost exactly the same. The only difference was Keith ends this one, whereas he ended this one. The first 2 bars are. Now, the next 2 bars go down to that 5th fret. This now is our A major bar chord. Definitely use your tablature. Use that to guide you through all the fingerings. But here I am in the 5th position with a bar, and I'm using my third finger as a bar also at the 7th fret, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's look at the next 4 bars. They're almost exactly the same. Keith just plays a slight variation that's a little bit more rhythmically driving. Instead of going like this, he does this instead. Okay? Now you go down and do the exact same thing at the 7th fret. And then back to this. At bar 13 he adds another variation, but it's still really basically the same figure. He's essentially going to play more strings, and he's going to add 1 note with the pinky. One more time. Okay, then he goes down to here at the 7th fret and does exactly the same thing. And then at this part, he plays the same as before. So this whole section, starting at measure 13 at a slow tempo, 2, 3, 4. 4. You'll notice how I ended it differently. On the third time, we're leading into the verse, so when Keith comes out of this part, and that C sharp would be the first chord of the verse. So what he's playing there is an A chord, B, and he just alternates with the open bass strings. And again, that's the first chord of the verse. So if we put the last 4 bars together, they would sound like this. 2, 3, 4. And the only other thing I want to mention is the tremolo on the amp. You'll notice that I have it set. Hopefully you have a tremolo effect. It adds a beautiful sound to this. And I have it set to almost 16th notes. So if my tempo is 1, 2, 3, 4, the tremolo is going 1 E and a 2 E and a. Now it's not perfect, but it's about at that. Give a listen to that tremolo in the background. 2, 3, 4. Now let's move on to the verse and chorus. Now we're up to the rhythm guitar part for the verse and chorus, and this really couldn't be easier. The entire verse is based on one chord, the C sharp bar. And it's your basic rock and roll progression, and in this tuning, what that means is so you got the bar, and you're alternating with your third finger. Now during the verses, you might want to spice it up a little. You can really kind of improvise this part. That's what Keith does. In addition to just doing the basic alternating pattern, sometimes on the very last beat, just before the downbeat of the next measure, you might want to add those open strings. Great effect, like. I wouldn't overdo it, but sometimes that's going to really propel it forward. The other thing, later on in the song, in the later verses, Keith does a little bit of alternating with not only the third finger, but he adds the second finger in as well on the third string, which will give you a sound like this. That blends especially well when the harmonica comes in later. Again though, that can be kind of freely improvised. That's literally all you need to know to play the verse. From the verse, we segue straight into the chorus, and the chorus is just C sharp, B, and A. And it has this rhythm. So at the very end of it, we've got A, B, we're leading back to the C sharp, but instead of just playing A to B, Keith does this. That's it. That's all you need to know for the rhythm guitar part to this amazing song. Next, we'll take a look at some of the lead solos.